What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and part 2 of the SKYSTARS X140 build. Since the last video, what I have done to the quadcopter is I did put the electric tape to hold down the motor wires on each of the arms, and I've also put a zip tie to hold down the VTX antenna, just a little electric tape to hold it in place as well, and the zip tie to hold down the battery cable to the hind leg. So that is everything that I have done so far. But there was something that I did not do on our first video, is to measure the thicknesses of the arms and all of the plates. So let's go ahead and do that now. So the arms are measuring in at 4 millimeters. And the top plate is measuring in at, I got a little crooked there, 1.4. So basically all of the plates are going to measure in at around 1.5. So there you go. That one's 1.4. And let's see the front, the camera plate, 1.5. So basically, yeah, all of them are measuring in at about 1.5 millimeters, and the arms are measuring in at 4 millimeters. All right, so what we are going to do today is bind this quadcopter or the XM receiver to a transmitter, and I've been thinking about which transmitter to use. I came down to two. Either it was a jumper remote or the Taranis QX7, and I have chosen the Taranis QX7 because I just recently done a build on an Inov 120, and I did a pretty extensive bind and setting up the model and all that in that video. It is a part 2 of that build video as well, and if you haven't seen that video, go and check it out. I'll leave a link down below. However, the different thing about that video and this video will be the receiver. And on that video, the Inov 120, I used a D8 receiver. So the protocol on the jumper was the FrSky. If I were to bind this one to the jumper, I would choose the FrSky X, which is the 16 channel. So it will work with this XM receiver or the XM Plus receiver. All right, so what we are going to do now is set up a model on the Taranis QX7, bind it to this receiver, and go into Betaflight and set it all up. So let's go and check that out. All right, here we go, guys. We got the Taranis QX7 ready to go. Set up a new model. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to an empty model and hit create model. So there we go. I'm going to go page in, and we're going to put a model name on this quadcopter. We're going to call it the SKY X140. So we're going to scroll over to the S, long press to make it capital, and letter K, letter Y, give it a space, X, capitalize it, and 140. All right. Let's exit out, and I also want to put a timer, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the timer on and turn the timer to a 3-minute timer.
Timer will elapse.
And minute, and countdown to voice. All right, so we're gonna go scrolling all the way down, and let me go scrolling up to make sure things are ready to go. Yeah, here we go. We got on the internal RF, and mode is D16, which is correct for the XM receiver, 16 channels. And if it was the D8 receiver, then you would change it to D8. But this case, we got the XM, so D16. Okay, we are ready to go there. Let's not bind it quite yet. I'm going to go ahead and put some auxiliary channels on this baby as well. So we're going to page over and go into inputs, and let's scroll down to channel 5, and I'm going to call it ARM. So I'm just going to put a letter A and then exit out, scroll down to the switch source, hit enter, and this is the switch that I'm going to use it to arm. So I'm going to move it, and that will recognize it as the switch that's going to arm it. So I'm just going to exit out and go to channel 6, and this one I'm going to assign the modes. So I'm going to give it the letter M for modes. There we go. Exit out and assign a switch. I like to use this switch right here for the mode, so I'm going to go ahead and move it, and that will assign this switch as the mode switch. So let me exit out, and on channel 7 I'm going to assign this one to the buzzer since we have a buzzer. So I'm going to name it B and exit and assign a switch to that one, and I'm going to use this switch here for the buzzer. So I'm going to move it, and that will assign channel 7 to that switch. Exit out, and then page over to the mixer, and I'm going to go to channel 5. Oh, sorry about that, my alarm just went off on the phone and that stopped the video recording. So we are on mixer channel 5. I put a letter A in there, and I'm going to go ahead and exit out. Channel 6, I'm going to hit enter and then put the letter M, so it corresponds to the input channel, and I'm going to exit, go to channel 7, and I'm going to put the letter B in there and exit out. And one more thing I want to do here is let's page on over to special functions. I'm going to assign a switch to set the timer. Every time I hit the switch, the timer will start commencing. So I'm going to assign this monetary switch. So I'm going to go ahead and hit it and going up. So I'm going to hit that, and I'm going to make it a reset button. So every time I hit it, it'll reset the timer. So I'm going to hit reset. Timer 1 is what I had set up for 3 minutes, and put a check mark in that little box so it is on. So that is all I do on a setup of a model on a Taranis QX7. So now we can go ahead and page over to the first page, which I won't go down, I'll go up. So this will be the bottom of that page, and I'll just go up because it's a lot shorter climb, and put myself in the bind button mode. And what we are going to do now is go ahead and bind this transmitter with this receiver. So what we need to do is we're going to hit this little bind button that's on the side right here. You can not see it from that distance, so I'm going to show you the bind button. Let me hold that receiver like so. You see that tiny little button right there, that little gold button with the black dot in the middle. Hey, look at that, our timer is working. Well, you need to depress that, and believe me, when you depress that little button, you can kind of feel it getting depressed even though it is that small. We're going to depress that button, and at the same time we are going to plug in the quadcopter's power, so give power to the receiver. You can also do this with the USB because it powers up the receiver as well. So we are here in the open. I don't have the USB cord, so we're going to use a battery, and we're going to hit this bind button and plug this thing in at the same time. So let's go ahead and get a battery. All right, we got a battery now, so we are able to commence the binding process. So I'm going to get it ready to plug in, but don't plug it in yet. Just kind of hold it there, ready to plug it in, and go to the receiver and depress that bind button. There we go, and give it power. And if you did it correctly, you should see 2 lights now on the XM, a green light and a red light, as you can see there. All right, so going to go back to the Taranis, and we're going to hit that bind button. Now the red light is blinking on the XM. That means we are bound. So we can go ahead and unplug our quadcopter. and exit out of that binding mode on the Taranis, and we are bound. That is simple as that. We have done the binding. So let's go ahead and check to make sure we are bound. So let's go ahead and plug it in. Now the XM receiver should show a solid green light, and yes, it's a solid green light. To make sure, let's go ahead and turn off the Taranis. And now the green light is a red light. So we are unbound. So let's go ahead and turn it back on.
Welcome to OpenTX.
And it should turn green once we are set up. So let's go ahead and get into the model, and there you go, solid green light. So we have successfully bound our Taranis QX7 to the XM receiver. All right, so now that we have the receiver bound to the transmitter, I have double-sided sticky tape the XM receiver on the bottom of the top plate. I used 2 layers of that double-sided sticky tape, and it is on there pretty good. And I got the antenna wire routed out and put a little zip tie and got it hunkered down with a couple of pieces of electric tape. I know it is pretty long, but better than short and losing connection, right? Longer the better, I say. All right, so what we are going to do now is connect the quad to the Betaflight configurator. So let's go and check that out. All right, here we are in Betaflight. Let's go ahead and connect the quadcopter here to the computer. So I got my micro USB cable connecting to the flight controller, and I like to plug the flight controller in before plugging it into the computer. So hitting the USB cable now. All right, we are connected and we have a COM port. So let's go ahead and connect. Okay, sometimes it takes a couple of clicks before it can connect. So let's go ahead and connect. There we go. Looks like it's connecting. And I see that it's got Betaflight version 3.1.7 Omnibus. So here we go. Oh, it's looking pretty flat. Let's go ahead and calibrate the accelerometer. So that's done. Now before we go any further, what I'd like to do is I like to save a dump file of whatever it is on the flight control board. So go to CLI first, and in the command type in DUMP and hit enter. Okay, once all the dump files are shown, go ahead and highlight it. And copy it and have a text file ready, and go ahead and paste all that dump file onto a text file and go ahead and save it somewhere for future reference, so you have the basic foundation of this board saved before we did anything to it, just in case we mess up something. So let's go ahead and disconnect. So we get out of the CLI and go ahead and reconnect. Okay, connecting again, and there we go, reconnecting. Okay, we've already calibrated the accelerometer, so that is good. So let's go over to the ports page, and we see that it has the USB VCP turned on. That is how we are communicating from the flight controller to the computer. As I recall, there was 2 empty UART slots on the flight controller on the diagram. Here is the diagram, and there's a couple of UARTs that are not being used. So we know that there's UART 1 and UART 2. So we know that the receiver is probably hooked onto UART 3. I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. And at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and turn on UART 1. Just to have it on, just in case we cannot communicate with the VCP, we can use the UART 1 to communicate. All right, so we're going to hit save and reboot. All right, so we are set on the ports. Let's go into the configuration tab, and we see that it has one shot 125, while the ESCs on this build has D-Shot 600 support. So we got D-Shot 600, and I'm going to just keep the motor stop turned on for now. Nowadays I kind of like to have it turned off, but we'll just leave it turned on for our angle mode flight. So let's check this baby out here. So we got quad X, and as I recall, the rotation needs to be set, so we'll come back to that in a little bit. So we got 8 kilohertz and 2 kilohertz for the gyro and the PID loop. I'm gonna put the PID loop to 4 kilohertz, and we'll keep the accelerometer turned on as well. So personalization, here's where you can type in the craft name. So I'm going to type in SKYSTARS X140. That'll show up on our OSD menu. So let's move on down, and we got the LED turned on, black box turned on. I don't use black box, so turn that off. SD card, we don't have an SD card on this baby here. OSD, yes, we need OSD. And battery voltage, let's see, I'm gonna hit it down to 2.9, and warning to happen at 3.1. All right, so I like it like that. So let's go ahead and save and reboot. Okay, are you gonna auto connect? Yes, auto connect. Okay, let's go back to our configuration here on the setup to see the board. Okay, we got the quadcopter here, and let's forward tilt and check it out. The back of the quadcopter is tilting down, so we know that the board needs rotation. Let's go left and right, so it's completely 180 degree. All right, so let's go ahead and go over to the configuration and go to the board alignment, and we want to let's see, yaw degree 180. All right, let's go ahead and hit save and reboot. Okay, let's go ahead and reconnect manually. Okay, so we are back to the setups, and let's go forward tilt. Yes, forward tilt is working. Let's go to the left, let's go to the right, and there you go. All we needed to do was 180 degrees on the yaw rotation, and we are good. Left and right, back and forward. Yep, just like how it is pictured on the screen. Your quadcopter is moving the same way. So we are set on the board rotation. So let's go back to configuration and double make sure everything is good. But the receiver is not. We are on a serial based receiver, and we are using S-Bus. So let's go ahead and hit S-Bus right there, and then I think that's it now. All right, so save and reboot. All right, we're getting there, and it is connecting automatically. Let's check out the PIDs, and looks like it's got Betaflight default PID, so we'll just leave it the way it is. And we'll also turn on the expert mode, which will bring us to the fail-safe. Yeah, no, you can set the stage 2 fail-safe, and it is already turned on, so that is good, so we don't have to turn it on. So let's go to the receiver tab. So here we should be able to connect to the transmitter. So let's go ahead and turn on the QX7S. All right, there we go. We are connected. We have chosen the correct UART, but it is spinning out of control because we are on AETR, and my transmitter is set to TAER. So as soon as you hit the save, the quadcopter should come to a standstill, but it's slightly moving. So we need to set our midpoints, because look at, it's 1498, 1493, and 1495. So we need to set our midpoints and our endpoints, but I'm just gonna go ahead and set the midpoints for now. All right, so going into the transmitter and paging over to the outputs. So channel 1 would be throttle, so we don't need to set the throttle. So we're going to go to channel 2 and hit enter, hit edit, and scroll down to sub trim and click on it and start rotating the dial. So as you can see, the number is starting to increase, 1503. Bring it back down to 1500, or as close as you can get it to 1500. That'll be the midpoint there. And exit out. And go to channel 3, hit enter, hit edit, scroll down to sub trim, hit enter, and raise the pitch up to 1500 as well. Okay, it's staying at 1500. So hit exit out, and let's do channel 4. Hit enter, hit edit, and scroll to sub trim. Hit enter and bring that baby from 1495 to 1500. That'll be the yaw. So go ahead and hit exit, and our sub trim or our midpoints have been set. So now, as you can see, the quadcopter is at a standstill. So when you let go of the sticks in the mid position, the quadcopter will fly in this manner. So we are set on that. So let's see if our auxiliary channels work. So auxiliary 1, auxiliary 2, okay, and auxiliary 3. Okay, so they are working. So we are good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And we are going to get out and go into the modes tab where nothing is set. So we're going to set the arming to the top of the switch.
1 minute.
To aux 1. That's what we have the switch set on. And we're going to do the air mode on auxiliary 2 and at the top of the switch. And we're also going to set the angle mode. So we can do some angle mode on aux 2 to the bottom of the switch. And we're going to skip on the horizon. But if you guys want to set up a the horizon mode as well, let me go ahead and set it up so I can show it to you on our test flight. So I'm going to put it on the middle of those switch. So I got the air mode set on the top of the switch. On the bottom of the switch, it'll start off in angle mode. Let me make it a little bit shorter. And in the middle of the switch, we are in horizon. All right, so we can fly angle, horizon, and air mode on this quadcopter. And we also have the beeper as well. So we're gonna hit the beeper and put it at the top of the switch. And that was channel 7, which is auxiliary 3. So let's go ahead and scroll up and down and make sure that is everything and hit save. So we should be good to go on the modes. So let's go ahead and check it out. Let me go ahead and arm it. There you go. We are
2 minutes.
okay. We are arming and our modes. Okay, they are working, and let's check the beeper. All right, everything is working, so that is good. So now let's go on over to the OSD and check out the OSD. We're going to skip the motors for now, and here we are in the OSD, and we got the main battery voltage. Horizon, I'm going to turn that off. Horizon sidebars, I'm going to turn that off. On time, fly time, I just want the fly time, fly mode, and craft name. All right, so here you can go ahead and move things around, like the mode, craft name, and the fly time. So let's hit the NTSC. And if it's NTSC, then we still got these visible on the bottom of the screen. So I'm gonna put it back to auto. All right, so we are set. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit save. All right, so let's go on over to the motors tab now and check this baby out in the motors tab. So I'm going to go ahead and hit I understand the possibilities, and yes, my props are off. So let's go ahead and check the rotation of the motors to make sure they are spinning the right way. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and plug in the quadcopter. But hold on a second, let me go ahead and get a little tool first. Okay, I'm back. I got a little tool. I got a little piece of paper with a little hole punched in the middle, so we can test out the motors spinning, you know, so we can see if it's spinning the correct way or not. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in the quadcopter, give power to the quadcopter. All right, so when I hit the master, all of the motors should spin. Yes, they are spinning, so that is good news. All of the motors are spinning. So let me go ahead and show you. Hitting the master. All right, all of the motors are nice and quiet. So let's go and hit motor number 1. So this will be motor number 1. So we're going to put the paper on motor number 1, and we're going to hit the power to motor number 1.
2 minutes.
And it looks like motor number 1 is spinning the wrong way. So motor number 1 is spinning the wrong way. So put the paper on motor number 2 and hit motor number 2. Okay, motor number 2 is spinning the correct way. And here's motor number 3. Let's see. Okay, motor number 3 is spinning the correct way. So far motor number 1 only. Now motor number 4. Motor number 4 is spinning the wrong way as well. So motor number 1 and 4 needs to be reversed in BLHeli configurator. So we're going to turn this off, and we are just about done here. So let's go ahead and disconnect. Okay, we are in BLHeli configurator. So let's go ahead and connect. All right, connected. Let's go ahead and plug in our battery. Okay, so let's go ahead and read the setup. All right, so it was motor number 1 and motor number 4 that needed to be reconfigured. So motor number 1, we're going to reverse it. And motor number 4, we are going to reverse it, and we're going to hit right setup. And that is just about it. All right, we are done. Check that out. So hopefully everything is good. So let's go ahead and reconnect and connect back to Betaflight motor tab. All right, here we are in Betaflight configurator, motors tab once again, and I have the battery already plugged into the quadcopter. Everything is connected. I already clicked on the I understand disclaimer. So let's go ahead and check out motor number 1 and motor number 4. So let's put the paper on motor number 1 and give it some power to motor number 1. There we go. It is spinning the correct way now. And motor number 4 should spin the right way as well. There we go. It's spinning the correct way. All right, so that is taken care of. Okay, so everything is configured in Betaflight. So what I want to do now is I want to resave the CLI dump file to a new file. So I'm going to hit dump one more time and hit enter. And then I'm going to highlight once again, and this is the new settings. So let's go ahead and copy that, and I got another untitled notepad opened up, and I'm going to hit paste, and this is the new dump files with all of the changes. So I'm gonna save both of them in a little folder. So that is all I do in Betaflight. Now we are ready to check the quadcopter out. All right, so we got it all set up in Betaflight. Everything is configured. All of the motors are spinning the correct way. So let's go ahead and do the actual test. So plugging in the quadcopter.
2 minutes.
Reset the timer. And let's see if everything is working. Arming it. Nice. Throttle up. Nice. Buzzer. All right. Modes. Angle mode. Horizon mode. Air mode. And the motors are spinning in air mode, so that's good news. All right, so everything is working. So let's go ahead and unplug this baby here. So that is just about it. One more last thing to do is what I want to do is check out the camera and the VTX, see if that is all functional as well. So I'm going to bring out a little monitor to make sure that is working correctly as well. All right, we got a monitor set up. We are on the same frequency and everything is looking good. It is looking pretty clear, and the camera and the VTX is working just fine. So let's go ahead and see if the on-screen display Betaflight parameter is working. So what you need to do is throttle, yaw all the way to the left, and pitch all the way to forward, and that should bring up the parameters, and there we have it. So here you can go ahead and change your PIDs and your rates and all that. So that is awesome. So it is working fine. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of there. All right, so everything is working fine on this quadcopter. Now all that it is left to do is put on some props, take it outside for a test flight. But I think unfortunately this video is becoming a little bit lengthy as well. So we're going to stop the video here and continue on a future video, probably tomorrow if the weather is permitting. Take the SKYSTARS X140 out on the field and give it a test flight. So that is it for now, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you again next time.